I'm 8 miles from where I started from, but I've been here like 73 years. Well, my dad had a place leased there at Hans Peak. That's where his folks come from, so that's where we started out when I was born. And I was a real fast child. My folks was married in September and I was born in December. But that still happens today, so my mother got on the bus and went to Denver and had me. I was actually born in Denver, and she was there 4 days. I weighed 4 pounds. She got on the bus and hauled me back home, and the hospital bill was $59. So my mother's folks come here in 1880s. They settled on Deep Creek. My dad's folks come here in 1919 and bought a ranch there in the Hans Peak Basin. So they ranched there for quite a few years. So mainly my dad, you know, we always had chores to do when we was kids. There's 5 brothers, 5 of us in the family, and he had dairy cows, and he was kind of like a dry land farmer mainly, but we raised hay and everything, but we bound our grain and thrashed it, and that was a big deal in the fall here when thrashing time come, because everybody come to help, you know. I've been at the dinner table when there was like 33 men and boys at the dinner table on a thrashing crew, and man, I'll tell you what, ham wasn't even a starter. We ate like horses and we worked like horses, so. But that was an interesting time back when we used to thrash and everybody come with their horses, and kids had a big time. 1 year there, we had 1 teacher, 8 grades, and 33 kids. And she had her hands full. We had 2 rooms actually. First 4 grades in 1 room and the next 4 in another room, but there wasn't nothing went on in the room that when she wasn't in there that she didn't know what was going on. She was a really special person. Two boys, Howard Morgan and Jack McLaughlin used to fight quite a bit, so when they'd get in a fight, she'd say, "Okay, everybody come on out and watch this." So the whole school would go out and watch it, and they fought like a couple of bulldogs, and neither one of them could whip the other, but they drawed blood and they was serious about it. And so when it was over, she says, "Okay, everybody back in the schoolroom. Anybody learn anything?" She just let it. She never tried to stop it, you know. So we raised a dry land garden, a big garden. We had to haul our drinking water. We didn't have water where we lived over here on the Criswell place, and but us kids, we learned a lot about weeding the garden, you know, and hoeing potatoes and picking the carrots and beets and everything else, and when they was due, lettuce. We always had a good garden. And later on we had a raspberry patch when we moved down here to Moose place that you could pick 5-gallon raspberries off of, and we had milk cows and used to separate our milk, and boy, cream and sugar in a big bowl of raspberries. That's hard to beat. I spent a lot of time working for other ranchers, you know, raking hay, working horses, shearing sheep. In fact, from here to Steamboat, I've worked on 90% of those ranches back then, you know. They were doing something, either shoeing horses or shearing sheep, so I was influenced by a lot of different people, a lot of ranchers, some pretty good horse hands and some good farmers. You know, we had dairy cattle too, so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Sheep, I like sheep myself, cattle. But when I was 10 years old, I got on the bus about the 10th of May and went to Vernal, Utah, and helped trail a band of sheep from Vernal, Utah clear up here. It was 200 miles, 60 days it took us, so for a 10-year-old kid, that was quite an experience. Our neighbor, Tom McCackney, ran them sheep here in the summertime. That's how come I got hooked up on that deal. And I used to go visit these herder and stuff, and I always liked sheep. I like to hang around sheep, and so that's how I ended up there. Just, it seems like when you got responsibilities when you're a farm kid, you just don't ever remember growing up. You just, things come and they add up and stuff. But me and 2 other boys, Glenn McLaughlin and Gary Whitmer, graduated from the 8th grade here at Clark right here, and they talk about college kids today going off to college. You know, it's a big experience for them. Well, when we went to Steamboat Springs to high school, my God, we didn't even know where to find the next bell would ring, and we didn't know how to find the next classroom. So that was quite a deal. And so in the winter time, we all wrestled, and so we batched. We rented a cabin there, the log cabin to Spring Creek there in Steamboat Springs, and batched and come home on weekends, and Mom done our washing and stuff. And back to school we'd go. We all had jobs shoveling snow mainly. Clark kids had quite a reputation for knowing how to shovel snow. The valley has changed so much, you know, since my time of remembering and stuff. But kids, young kids, it's nice today to see them interested in 4-H projects and stuff, and see them out working in the fields. Everything's done with machinery and stuff today, where it was done with horses when I was a kid. But it's nice to see some of these kids out maybe helping their dad irrigate, or there's some little kids down the road here that help their dad move cattle. They'd be on horses, you know, just little bitty clunkers, and I've got some grandkids that way. So try to introduce them to that stuff too. Mainly for a community back then, it's like threshing time, and a lot of people helped each other hay and stuff. They don't do that no more, you know. The neighbors don't, they help neighbors a little bit. We still do some brandings and stuff together, but as far as haying and crops and stuff, they got enough machinery and stuff to do it on their own. Yeah. Don't overgraze it. Don't use it too hard, you know. Make your livestock rotate around. Don't keep them all in one place too long and stuff. And irrigation, get your water on, get it off. Don't put too much on and you start raising broadleaf water grass. It's not as high value as your good mountain grass. So yeah, that's the main thing, is don't overgraze your ground, you know. I went to Lamar, Colorado on a wrestling scholarship, but I didn't particularly care for that. I only stayed there 1 quarter. Then I come home and went to work on ranches and stuff. Yeah. But and I worked quite a bit on ranches before I got married, and ended up, I had a ranch here and I had one in Utah too, and we got caught in a bad money went from 7% to 21% in 1 year, and boy, that just about ate the shirt off our back. We was in debt far enough that the banker said he didn't want us working for him no more, you know, so he sold out. Then I went back to guiding hunters and shearing sheep and shoeing horses, and I've kind of had a lot more free time to do what I want to do in life than you never get out of debt, don't seem like, when you're a rancher starting out, and it's about impossible today for a young guy to come out here and try to buy a ranch and get started. Boy, land is so high, and he'd have to somebody lend him a big hand, you know, to get him started. So the first real big moneyed guy that come to this valley was J.E. Barbie. He put together a big ranch right down the road here, and he owned a lot of ground around Hans Peak, and well, he was rich, no doubt, but he was a pretty good person. He employed local people. He spent quite a little bit of money right here. You know, he didn't think he was better than everybody else. And when we was little bitty kids, we had this before we had electricity, and there was an old guy that run the store here at Clark, Jim Sayers, and we was over there one day with Dad, and he gave us a sack of marshmallows. It was so hard you couldn't mash them with a hammer. So about 3 or 4 days later, me and my 2 older brothers, we took off and went over there and went in there, and he said, "What the heck do you little farts want?" And he said, "We want some marshmallows." So he gave us a sack of marshmallows. He said, "Get out of here." Well, we're going back home, and Barbie come up the road. Our folks had told us never to ride with a stranger or nothing, but he come in his car and he says, "Are you the Bedell kids?" Well, we wouldn't talk to him at all. "You want to ride?" Going up See your dad? No, we wasn't going to ride with him because we weren't supposed to. He was going up there to get some ice. This was in August because we had an ice house. We used to cut ice off the river in the wintertime. He wanted to make some homemade ice cream, so he went on up there and told Dad that 3 little skunks were down the road eating marshmallows. We got in trouble over that. My mother wasn't the first child that Doc Willett ever delivered here in this country, but her name was Willett, and my middle name is Willett. I don't know if you know any history on old doctors and stuff, but he was one of the grand old people, so I packed his name for all this years. That's what my middle name is, and we used to go get him and when we was in high school there, and he'd come and eat supper with us. My mother'd cook, and grand old guy. Yeah, there was. See, my dad ran cross-country races in the wintertime. He used to ski from Hans Peak clear to Steamboat and run a cross-country race and ski back home 33 miles. Never thought nothing of it. But when we was little, you know, if we got to go to town twice a year, we was really lucky. But we never knew people. We knew the Moon Hill school kids. We never knew the kids at 33 school or the kids, there was another school on Deep Creek. You just never got around in them days. You never went very far.
Yeah.
So it's all changed.
Yeah. And so when you got married, did you marry a local girl or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Originally she come from Nebraska, and her dad owned this Barbie place down the road here, and well, he'd sold it by then, but he bought the Powell place, and eventually we bought it from him, and so yeah, I got 2 sons that they're both interested in ranching. One of them runs Marabou down to Steamboat, and the other works for the sheriff's department now, but they got a little bit of land down here, so they put up some hay and stuff, and we've all got horses, and we do quite a bit of hunting, pack trips.
First I'll mess up my equipment. I might just...
Piece of paper better? You're getting all the ribbons.
I'm not.
Oh. Yes, Miss Lindo. You could come. Yeah, I know she wants to come in and meet Joe. That's moving the old store. Different shots of that. That used to be in Junction. One was, the big one was the warehouse, and the smaller one without a roof was the old store. Isn't that?
Penny and I lived next door to a house that got moved across the street.
Well, this was all the way to town, 28 miles.
It was a big deal just moving across the street, huh? Kicked us out of the house.
Oh, they kicked you out of your house?
Okay, that's the